guess you could say it was all digital, in widescreen digital, and I know that's, you know, not always the best thing to do, but Demons in My Head was something that I really wanted to do, just, you know, to try to be a little different. I had a feeling that everybody was doing, you know, these normal sort of talking films like Kevin Smith movies, which I think you've all seen, and then I decided Demons in My Head would be sort of a science fiction horror film with, you know, with that sort of talky sort of feel, and it's actually done very well for me. We sold it to a company called Raven Pictures, and they've sold it to a few different countries in the world. Now it's I don't know how to explain it. At this point we've actually got no money back from the movie. You know, the contract they gave us was a little bit dodgy, I think, so we're still trying to work on trying to get payment out of that movie. But it is in England, I know this. I walked into Blockbuster, I think, very recently. I saw it in the top 10, so I know the movie's selling really well, and I think eventually we'll start getting money back from that. So I did that one, but you know, the problem was it cost quite a bit of money, and so after this we did another movie called Two Become One, and that's, I guess the interesting thing about that movie was I got rid of my DP and shot it all myself, and I wrote it. Actually, I wrote it in 3 days, which is really not normal. But interesting, Demons in My Head was a certain type of movie, but this movie, I just wrote it 3 days on the beach in Australia, and it came out really good. And in fact, it came out much better than Demons in My Head. And it was kind of more, I had more control of things. You know, the first movie you have a lot of people walking around telling you what to do and how to do it. And the second one I said, I'm just going to do everything myself. And with Two Become One, well, you know, we hit the American film market last year, 2000, the year 2000, so I guess it was the beginning of this year. The problem I had with this movie, as you probably know, the Blair Witch Project movies come out, and that was a $35,000 movie, and To Become One cost me $2,154, and everyone didn't believe it because we had, you know, everything was in focus, it was properly lit, we had explosions in there, many locations, many actors. In one scene we had 35 actors, and nobody could believe I did it for that money, and I don't think I'd ever do that again. But you know, that film's gone actually better than Demons in My Head, in the sense that we've sold to Spectrum Pictures, I think, here in Arizona, the next state along, and we've actually already made a profit on the movie, which is kind of nice. So I guess I kind of got that horror feel out of my system, and I'm really interested in doing science fiction movies. So I took some of the money I've been getting from some of the music videos I was doing, and I've decided to do a movie called Battlespace. Now, the original name of the movie was called Construct 3, and we thought it was a clever name because it was the name of the planet, and plus it's the third movie, so it's a construct, you know, it's a bad joke. But then it just didn't seem to fit, so we renamed it Continuum, and we've just got ourselves a sales agent who's been really good to me, actually, and he suggested we call it Battlespace, so it's now called Battlespace, which is really nice. I guess that puts us, when we go into the DVD and the VHS shops, it'll be next to Battlestar Galactica, so you know, it's kind of cool. Not that we're cashing in or anything like that, it's not really the same sort of movie, but it was nice that they kind of aligned us with that. Now, from the outset, Battlespace, actually, I had some investors come in, and they were talking like $3 million originally, and you know, apparently it's a really good time to invest in movies, or it was. And they decided that, you know, once we got to the US and we started doing our deals, we had a nice script and everything sorted out and signed contracts, and then I came to the US. And they told me, it's not going to be that. These are people from Canada, by the way, so they're not, people in the US. They're Canadian people, but they're doing some tax thing, I'm not sure. And then they dropped the budget to $1.8 million, which was really kind of sad. But, I figured I could still make it on that because I've done a lot smaller budget movies. And I think they just kept putting us off with a lot of things. We got out to the desert, and we'd done the casting, we're about ready to shoot, we made the offers and contracts and stuff, and then they came to me and said, look, we've only got $300,000. And I said, really? That's really a problem. So I kind of did a bit of finagling myself, and I actually got rid of these investors, and I sold, I've got this house, well, I had a house in Australia, which I sold, and allowed me to raise, the money to make the movie myself. And it was a little bit difficult because we're out in the desert and we had, some actors there and everything, and no money. So I sold the house, borrowed some money, and we started shooting the movie. And we shot in Yuma, in Arizona, which is there's a place called the Buttercup Valley, or the Imperial Dunes. This is where I think Star Wars: Return of the Jedi was filmed, and we thought we'd shoot there because it just looks so interesting. It looks like another planet, and I think what I kind of wanted to do with Battlespace was make it kind of this. It's got this female character who's sort of very heroic, and it's this woman against the galaxy, and she kind of takes on this whole army herself. And she crashes on this planet called Construct 3, and she is having to fight her way, hiding from spaceships and stuff, and also the planet itself is kind of a character in the film. I originally wanted to do the movie without any dialogue, which is, not the smartest thing to do, I think, in retrospect, but it was really interesting to do in the sense that it was all on her face and stuff, and I mean there was not a lot of lines to learn, so the actors were very happy about that. There were a few lines in the movie in the end, but that was the original idea, was to do it almost a silent movie with just sound effects. But you can't really do that much. When two people are looking at each other, they have to talk. You have to say something. So we're shooting out in the desert, and a very stressful time. I had my assistant Blake, who was also one of the actors in the film, and we had this great actress called Eve Connolly, who was really amazing. She was actually my makeup artist in Australia when I was doing lots of music videos and TV commercials, and she just went on camera one day, and I said, and I said to her, "You're really photographic," and well, she sort of said, I actually used to act, and turns out she was actually a well-known actor, a few years ago, and she'd done a couple of big TV shows, The Man from Snowy River and something else, and so she was actually, quite an accomplished actress. So he put it all together, and brought her across. It was kind of really hard work. I know there was a giant dust storm turned up one of the days, and we're shooting. I just bought myself a new DVC Pro Panasonic HD camera, and there's not many HD cameras. This is the first of the new cameras, so I did a digital movie. So this one I thought I'd do. I don't know if it's the first high definition movie, but it's one of the first. Yeah.
Question. Did you pay your actors the same thing when the budget was $3 million as you did when the budget went down to $300,000 or less?
The payment, yeah. Well, what I did, I reduced the actors' fees pretty dramatically, and then I put them on a back-end deal. I mean, they still got paid some money, but no, it wasn't the same. But we also had a couple of famous actors in the film originally as well, who we had to ditch because they couldn't do it. I even played a role myself in the movie because we had this famous person, and it was going to be a one-day thing, get a famous person in for one day. I can't really name who it is, but I ended up doing the role myself because there's no one else out there, and it's not, there was a bit of nudity involved with the male character as well, so it was actually very hard to find an actor, a male actor, who would actually be completely nude on camera. But I mean, in the end of the film, I don't think I'm going to show my parts or anything like that, because I think that's not really, pleasant. But going to try to blur it out. But you have to be naked to shoot it first before you do it all. So, I said I'll do it. It's not a lot of speaking, not a lot of lines. It's just standing there, as kind of a ghost type figure. So, actually, the problem was the first day we did the movie. I'm the director, but I was playing this character when there's one moment the character appears for real, and I actually had to kiss the lead actress on the lips. And she's married, so it's kind of a little awkward. And I thought this is really coming across like a sleazy film director type thing. But that was in the script, so I couldn't really let that one go, and I had to do it. But then it was done, then we were all fine. So the shoot went really well after that. Well, there was another time I rented a 4x4. What do you call them? SUV, and drove it up into the sand a bit. We actually got stuck in the sand, and we had to get the park rangers to actually get a cop who could then call for the tow truck to tow us out, and that took a few hours. That wasn't the best thing that ever happened to me. And then we shot there. It all went okay. It was just really hot. The problem was too, it was 125 degrees Fahrenheit. I think in Celsius that's about 50 degrees Celsius, because that's what we know. And it was so hot that you couldn't, you touch the camera, I mean it was just too hot to touch. But you couldn't go out in the middle of the day and film. It was just too hot. It was impossible because of the heat from the desert. So we actually had to only shoot between 7 and 9 a.m. and I think then the rest of the day we spent by the pool. And then, 4 until 7 p.m. we shot. But it was actually kind of cool because you don't have all that messing around you have on the set. You kind of spend your time preparing for it and being ready for everything. So you hit the desert at 4 p.m., you shoot, you're done. And it was actually kind of, we got a lot accomplished in that time space. There was one moment where the lead actress, Eve, she actually nearly passed out from the heat. And it's still sunset and it's still too hot. And she apparently lost the hearing for a bit, so it was pretty hard filming out there. Let me see now. We then moved to we then went to Page, Arizona, and Lake Powell. Now, if any of you have ever seen Planet of the Apes, well, this is where they shot Planet of the Apes, and it was really kind of cool there because it was really hot for us, and then we got up there and it's just kind of cool. It cooled down a lot, and even in the summertime, Lake Powell is kind of pleasant. So we filmed there, and there was a point where everyone was getting kind of cold. We rented a boat and went out and around the lake. It was really good fun, but there was a problem because Page, Arizona, it crosses the border to Utah as well. It's right on the border, so there's a point on Lake Powell. Half of it is in Arizona, half is in Utah. We had permission to be on the Arizona side, but not the Utah side, and so this park ranger came up and got very angry with us, and we had to try to talk our way around it. But the footage looks amazing. You didn't need the stone is really white, so you don't need any external lighting too much because the sand is reflecting light and the stone is reflecting light, and it just looks remarkable. So it's been one of those movies where we shoot all around the US. I think we've also shot in Los Angeles for a day. Now here's a clever thing we've done. We shot the wide shots in Los Angeles, but I was a bit worried about not having permits. So we did close-ups in Brisbane, Australia. And you see the wide shot of the two people walking, then you cut to the close-up and suddenly you're in a different country, and you just have to match the clothing and the hair, and it looks really good. You can't tell the difference. I mean, we're still cutting, but you can see it just works magically. I'm very, very happy with this. And also, let's see, what else happened during the film? Well, I mean, right now we're in the visual effects part of things. So we have a company in Germany who are doing all the visual effects for us, and they're really nice people. And I think our budget for the visual effects is $80,000, which is something. And we're expecting it to be a bit of a visual effects movie, and of course it's going to be all done digitally again, and the end will probably blow up to 35mm. But we're doing the effects in high definition, and this is really hard because most of the computers are not having a good time with the high resolution. and it's very slow to render, so it may take about a year to finish the movie from this point. But it's it certainly looks like nothing else ever made. It looks like a really, really big budget movie, and you know, I'm looking forward to, hopefully next year we'll be screening it here at the festival, which will make me very, very proud, because you know it makes all the hard work worthwhile, and it's, you know, it's, as I said, it's been a really hard movie. Is there any other questions? Okay. Yeah, the question was, he was asking about the editing and the sound mixing and stuff and music. Well, I've got a composer. His name's Owen Arnold, and he's from Australia as well. He's really good. The sound mix I'm probably going to do myself, I think. I've got a Pro Tools unit. I've been working with this heavy metal band called Manowar, and they've helped me out, sort of teach me Pro Tools. So I'll probably be doing the mix myself. Then I'll send it off to somebody in Los Angeles for the mastering of it. So it's, you know, it's going to have a good feel to it. It's going to be, you know, the other movies I've done are kind of down here. Battlespace is going to be a leap ahead of that, and as I said, my sales agent, he's very excited to see the final version. So, you know, we've already done a rough trailer. They've, you know, done a few of the visual effects and a rough cut on everything. And we've probably got an extra couple of scenes to shoot. I think there's going to be something I'm going to shoot in Australia just to close it out. But it's kind of got that 2001: A Space Odyssey feel. You know, it's that similar sort of movie. It's very artistic. So, you know, okay. Okay, so we're out of time. Sorry. So thank you, everybody. It's been really nice. And, you know, hopefully I'll see you all next year with the finished film.